Hi there, welcome to this devotion. Last week, my child turned 4 years old, and on his birthday, he played in the soccer tournament. Now, he's about a head shorter than his peers or the rest of the team, but hey, I'm not too worried about that because Messi is a short guy, so I arrived at the tournament with these expectations pretty high. The field's about the quarter size of a normal soccer pitch, if not smaller, and there's about 5 or 6 in a team. I brought my folding chairs, promptly put it on the side of the field, and got comfortable, not quite sure what I was expecting. Anyway, the game before us was all these 3-year-olds playing, and I noticed that there were parents standing around on the pitch, even though the referee was trying to get the attention of the children to start the game. I came very close to trying to help the ref, and get these loitering parents off the field. Luckily, I didn't. The referee blew his whistle and the game started, and to my sheer horror, the parents were holding the kids' hands and running around with them, playing the game. I noticed that 1 or 2 parents actually kicked the ball, and I was watching the ref waiting for him to penalize them. The game lasted about 10 minutes and they all left the field, and I looked across at my child thinking, there's no ways I'm doing that. Fortunately, the 4-year-olds, they play alone, and the game started, and I can tell you, it was utter chaos. Most of the children just ran to the ball, kicking it, not even worrying about where the goals are. Some stood at a distance, not sure whether they should participate or not, and there were some playing around with their friends, and they didn't even seem to notice that there's a game going on. And then there were some that just kicked the ball, and they just ran up and kicked and kicked and kicked. Anyway, the first thing I noticed that there were 2 coaches on the field. They were also the referees, and I wasn't quite sure about this. Anyway, when the ball went out, a coach would pick up the ball and threw it onto the field, favoring his own team. And I was thinking, okay, well, that's all right, as long as the other coach gets a turn to do that too. At this point, I'm standing on the side of the field and trying to encourage my little one to kick the ball in the correct direction. And I was horrified when the opponent's coach lobbed the ball towards our goals and someone just touched the ball and they had a goal. I was still staring at that coach, giving him one of those death stares as you do when an injustice has been done against your team. When our team suddenly ran across the field and scored 3 quick goals, I looked around and was quite chuffed and was trying to see where the scoreboard was when I realized no one's keeping score. This game was just for sheer fun. He ended up playing 4 10-minute games, and I must be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoyed the last 3 games, and I had no idea who won or who had lost, and it seemed so irrelevant. And when I think about myself on that first game, it actually turned out to be quite comical. No one was keeping score, and it was a total revelation to me to play a game and not worry about who's winning or what the score is. In Psalm 30, the psalmist makes this statement and asks God, if you count our sins against us, who can escape condemnation? And it's a good question, because there are consequences to our action in this life and in the life thereafter. Some believe that account is kept of our good and our bad actions, and if the good outweighs the bad, well, we've got it waxed in the afterlife. I'm not so sure about this. How do you weigh good and bad up against one another? I mean, if a harsh word causes someone to lose their faith in God and they end up doomed, what good can offset that? If a hungry person is left to starve, or an injustice is ignored, what good can offset that? This good and bad offsetting each other does not work. Jesus came to correct our relationship with God. Jesus came so that our sins are forgiven. Jesus came so that we can be free to have a relationship with God. So that in this life we can learn to know God, so that we can learn to love God, that we can learn to serve God. And the amazing thing is, with Jesus forgiving our sins, the playing levels are not, or the playing fields are not only leveled, but the score is irrelevant. We serve God, we love God, we know God without God keeping score because of Jesus. to the psalmist, I would say Jesus is the one that prevents or stops God from keeping score in our lives. Jesus is the one that paves the way for us to know God, to love God, and to serve God. I hope that you have a good day, and I hope that you rely fully on Jesus this day, and not only rely on the balance of things, because Jesus doesn't use balances. Jesus doesn't keep score. Jesus is there to forgive our sins and pave the way for us to have a relationship with his Father in heaven. Until we meet again, God bless.